2, 1, and we're live. This is Retraice, segment number 57 for November 21st, 2022 at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And all the other times, what are the other times? We got 4 a.m. in London, 12 noon in Beijing, 3 p.m. in Sydney. Those are the other times. We're going to talk AIMA4e. What's AIMA4e? That's the artificial intelligence textbook, the gold standard, the white brick that we find to be so valuable or anticipate to be so valuable. Originally, the plan today was to read the first 150 pages on a plan, a 7-day plan. A couple things went wrong with that. First of all, I forgot it was Thanksgiving week. I can't do that to my family. I can't be reading 8 hours on a 4-day weekend for 4 days of a 4-day weekend. But that's okay. I'm actually further in the book in terms of like thorough reading. I was further in it than I thought. I was up to about 120 anyway. I've done a lot in the book, and I've like thoroughly read the first 120 pages. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We're actually going to go to, that would have taken us to about midway through chapter 5, but we're going to talk all the way through chapter 6. We're going to do it in 5 minutes. Don't expect a lot of detail. What is Retraice? Retraice is about what's going on out there. The short answer is computer control. The long answer is nature, which is not effing around. Artificial intelligence, which is new. Natural intelligence, which is old. Strategic intelligence, by which we mean espionage, counter-espionage, and covert action, which is in between old and new. And then there's humanity, which is the best part of it all. Retraice is for outsiders. And we came to the conclusion that outsiders are not players, and so the computer control game, which is player-oriented, must be taken on from the position of a player. So we're learning to play. Got it? Good. Great. If not, go back, listen to a few of the other ones, or don't. Just keep listening. It's all good. We're not going to depend on any pre-existing knowledge. So the book is broken up into how many sections? There's 7 sections, 8 if you include the preface, and the preface you should include. So I have one-word nouns for these sections. I will tell you my nouns, and then I will tell you their titles for these sections, these mega sections. Not chapters. There are like 28 chapters of the book. But the reason that this is important is because you need to be able to get your mind around the book, and you can't do that with 28 chapters, and you can't do it even with 7 sections if the section titles aren't pithy. I've made them pithy. So let me give you the 7 section titles of this book, because they're saying what AI is and how to do it in this book. How do they organize the book? Section 1 is intelligence. Section 2 is solving, i.e. solving problems. Section 3 is thinking. Section 4 is uncertainty. Section 5 is learning. Section 6 is interacting. And Section 7 is conclusions. The big one is uncertainty. You're not going to be able to see this very well on the camera, but uncertainty is at least 50% bigger than the next 2 chapters in size, learning and thinking. Uncertainty is the big one. Does that sound familiar? Have we spent any time on uncertainty in Retraice? I'm pretty sure we've spent all the time on uncertainty in Retraice. None of it from the technical perspective, though. That's what they're going to do in the book. We're not going to get into that today. Their section titles, I don't need to give you their section titles. The stuff like, I don't need to give them to you. You can look into them. We're going to cover them later. But anyway, they're longer 3 or 4 word noun phrases that correspond to the single noun phrase that I just gave you. Mine's better. Use mine. But the notes we're going to put out there, our annotations for AIMA4e, will also have both side by side, so you don't have to choose. All right. Deep breath. What are the first 6 chapters about? Well, first let's start with the preface. You need a definition of artificial intelligence, and you need a definition of what they think is the center of artificial intelligence, which is the intelligent agent. The definition they give of artificial intelligence is the study of agents that receive percepts from the environment and perform actions. That's going to be important. The other big one going forward that we're going to come back to a million times, don't worry, you don't have to write all this down. I've already written it down for you, and we're going to come back to it a million times as we talk about this, is the agent function. I tell you, when you read this book and you get deep into it, oftentimes, especially when you're reading the pseudocode and you're trying to implement it in actual Python, you're not going to probably use Java, you're probably going to use Python. The agent function, to get it in your mind what that is. They define it best in the preface, or at least well in the preface. Each agent implements a function that maps percept sequences to actions. So the agent function is the mapping between the percept or the percept sequences to actions. It's kind of abstract, but we're going to come back to that a million times as we talk about this. It's a way, remember, artificial intelligence is, okay, well, what is it? It's the study of agents that receive percepts from the environment and perform actions. That's what they say it is. But you got to ask, what is the, like, think of it like a scientist, right? Like, this is supposed to be a science, or at least a very heavily scientific engineering discipline. What is their phenomenon? Their phenomenon, the thing that they're noticing and calling out and singling out in the world is intelligent agents. Okay? We're going to we're going to rely on that simple fact that the phenomenon about which artificial intelligence as a discipline cares is intelligent agents. And then what's the discipline? The discipline is what we call artificial intelligence, the study of these agents and now then they give a definition that agents are things that receive percepts from the environment and then perform actions. Okay? I like this phrase. I got it from Kate. Oh, geez. What is her name? Kate. I got it from Kate. I just had her book. I put things away and then I need them, like, automatically. It's like the universe does it on purpose. Kate Crawford. That's Kate Crawford, right? Atlas of AI. Kate Crawford. Please, internet. Thank you. She reminded me of a way of describing what a definition does work, and some definitions do more work than others, and some do work that you don't even know that they're doing, and then they can change the way you think about a whole thing, and you don't even realize what's happening until, if ever, you realize it, or until it's too late and somebody comes up and gotcha. You're at some conference giving a talk, or you're at some party talking to your friends, and somebody notices or knows something that you don't, or isn't constrained by the work of the definition that you accepted uncritically, and then they gotcha. They're like, oh, well, what about this? Mic drop. You got nothing. You start BSing, Frankfurt style, BSing, talking when you are reaching beyond your limits, when you don't have sufficient knowledge to talk about the thing you're trying to talk about. Why don't you have sufficient knowledge? Because the definition that you accepted initially did a bunch of work for you, and you liked it because of that. But what you didn't consider is that it might not have done it the way you wanted it done. Enough about definitions. Kate Crawford, thank you for reminding me of that perspective on definitions. Their definition of agents does a lot of work. Can I explain it to you further? Maybe, but let's not. The first 6 chapters, and so if they're just to wrap it up, if the phenomenon of artificial intelligence, according to Russell and Norvig, is intelligent agents, that's a broad thing. I mean, we're going to be talking about computer programs and math the whole time if we let ourselves, although they do much better than that. It's a great book. It's a fantastic book. But we could easily just start collapsing into the specialty of type, and this is artificial intelligence. Look at what comes out on the screen. Type some more. Win a game of Go. Predict the folding protein. Never think outside the lab or the competition or whatever. I'm not saying that the practitioners do this. The best practitioners are thinking deeply, but most people are not the best practitioners. They are hacks, and I mean that in the most lovable. I mean that with the most love. I think I'm a hack. I don't think anybody's going to ever categorize me as one of the top level, although that's what I'm trying to be, but everybody's trying to be. Hacks are what most of us are. And if we don't remember that intelligent agents can be anything in our world that satisfies certain conditions that accrue to those English words loosely and squishily in our brains, then we can forget a lot about what our phenomenon is or should be when we say we're studying or we say we're doing artificial intelligence. So the phenomenon is intelligent agents, and then the discipline of studying that and defining it, which does a lot of work, is what we call artificial intelligence. And then there's aspects to the phenomenon, etc. But we won't go into all those details now. Chapter 1 is just introduction, definitions. They give a lot of definitions. Over the years, they've given lots of. They've done different things in different editions of the book in terms of how to define artificial intelligence. It's a hard thing to do, but let's stick with their preface definition for now. Foundations of the field, history of the field, philosophy of the field, state of the art, and risks and benefits. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is about agents, environments, agents generally, and then their environments, good behavior, agent structure, and different types of agents. Chapter 3 is solving problems by searching. which is the idea of looking ahead to find a sequence of actions that achieves the goal. You've got algorithms, strategies, informed strategies, i.e. heuristics. Think of heuristics and biases. Kahneman and Tversky, their breakthrough research in human psychology is also quite relevant to artificial intelligence or machine psychology. Nobody calls it. Chapter 4 is complex environments. You're loosening some of the simplifying constraints on what can happen in an environment. They've got really good, in these two chapters, they've got really good models for how to think about environments, how to break them down in their different aspects. Don't have time to go into it right now, but we're talking about, in complex environments, local search, optimization, continuous spaces, non-deterministic actions, partially observable environments, and online search and unknown environments. Lots there. Okay. Chapter 5, adversarial games, game theory. Computer control is a game. Told you, they reveal it in chapter 5. I had forgotten that. I'd read all this, but everything can't stay in your mind. I took 500 books out of this office down to the library storage today. There's just, a mind is a finite thing, and when you load it with a bunch of stuff, it's definitely offloading a bunch of stuff. It's clearing buffers in order to make room for new stuff. I guarantee it. I can't prove it, but you know I'm right. Adversarial games, that's when you've got agents competing against other agents, okay? Game theory 101. And then optimal decisions, alpha beta tree search, Monte Carlo tree search. When you start hearing Monte Carlo methods and Las Vegas methods, nobody talks about Las Vegas methods, but there's Las Vegas methods hand in hand with, you can't understand Monte Carlo methods without Las Vegas methods. You'll start to feel cool at this point. Okay, this is the point. That, and when you're using some of the early algorithms and the heuristics for searching for solutions, you'll start to feel cool because you'll start using the lingo, and then you should be smacked in the face for using lingo outside of carefully controlled environments where people are only admitted if they know the lingo. Don't talk to plain-speaking people with the lingo. You're just trying to exclude them and seem cool, and you're not cool. It's ironic. It makes you less cool. It has the opposite effect. Monte Carlo tree search, stochastic games, partially observable games, and then the limitations of game theory. That's chapter 5. Chapter 6, constraint satisfaction problems. This is the last chapter under the major section of solving or problem solving. Constraint satisfaction problems. Instead of a state in the state space being black or white, this or that, one or the other, you start doing shades of gray, representing states with shades of gray, so that you're looking for paths from where you are to the solution state that have many different. Each state can take on a range of acceptable values, and then you're looking for the combination of states that stay within their domain of acceptable values and get you to the solution. So it's more complicated, but it's more realistic. And you've got ideas like constraint propagation, inference, backtracking search, local search, and structure of problems under chapter 6. Okay, so now we're up to chapter 6. We're about page 200. That's the end of the problem-solving section. After that, and we're not going to go into these in detail, but let's just remind that the next major section is thinking, and then we've got uncertainty, which is the mega section. Thinking and it is a big section, but uncertainty is the mega section. Learning is about the same size as thinking. We get into, it's machine learning. We're not talking about learning more broadly, but it's touched on. And then finally, section 6 is interacting, think robots and vision and stuff. And chapter 7, which is a very short section, which is conclusions. That's it. That's the whole book with, a lot of detail on chapters 0 through 6, let's say. I'll do the rest of the chapters tomorrow so that you can kind of put the two together. I wanted to do them all today, but man, the universe conspired against me. I don't believe that at all, but it's a good way of explaining, when things happen that are just totally don't jibe with your plan. But anyway, we were going to do the whole book in this style. I can't believe never mind. In 7 days, now we're going to do it in 2. Okay, this is day 1. We'll do the second one tomorrow, and then we start layering. That's when things get interesting. All right. No amendments, no corrections. All references will be in the PDF notes, retraice.com, retraice.com. This is Retraice segment number 57. Same time tomorrow, 11 p.m., 8 p.m. Pacific. Signing off.